I want to show you quite a few things here just to paint a big picture. We're right next to the front of this bus that crashed and burst into flames right into that garage. You can just see how much damage is right here. You see just the wheels and the front of the bus. The windows are shattered. The other thing I want to show you, if we can get our photojournalists to come through here, we want to show you the portion of the garage that it crashed into. And you can see there's still fire crews over here, and it crashed right through there. I'm told actually by fire officials there's a generator right there. So they say they're very fortunate that this damage wasn't a lot worse than it could have been. The last thing I want to show you on scene, we were told by a fire official that the bus drove through this middle portion of the bus stop, and we want to show you the wreckage it left behind because it's just incredible to think and jaw-dropping to think just how far this bus traveled before getting to that garage. If you follow me, and you can even still see some shards of glass on the ground right here, but you have all of this damage right here where the bus crashed through, and you see how big some of these pieces of glass are. I'm holding one of those pieces of glass that was part of this, and you can imagine when you have pieces of glass this big just flying in the air after a bus collision, it's just really unbelievable to think about, and really fortunate that there was only one person injured in all of this. Now I want to show you some video from earlier in the evening when the bus was actually wedged into that garage. If you take a look at this video, you can see just how into the garage the bus is. Let me give you a breakdown of everything what happened. We were told by fire officials that they responded to all of this around 6:30, a little bit after 6:30. When fire crews got to scene, their first mission was to put out the fire of this bus. And that was a pretty big task, as we'll explain to you in just a little bit. But there were no passengers inside the bus. There was the driver on scene. That driver was taken to the hospital with fortunately only minor injuries. Now, as far as why this bus was difficult to put out, this fire was difficult to put out, it's because it was an electric vehicle. Take a listen to what the fire official said as why this the fire was difficult to put out.
This was an electric bus, so that poses a little bit of a different challenge. Obviously, it was a busy time when this happened.
And as you can imagine, there's still a lot of moving pieces out here. We're told that hazmat was on scene, but building inspectors were also on scene to take a look at the garage to make sure that it was still safe for people to be inside, and that'll be something that we'll see for tomorrow. I want to show you something right now. Right now we have fire crews going to the bus. We're told by a fire official that even as this bus is being towed away, they're going to have fire crews following it closely to make sure that the battery, the electric battery for this bus, does not catch fire again. Of course, still tracking all the developments as a result of this fire. As soon as we get more details, as well as such as how this bus drove through here and crashed into the garage, that's something that we're still trying to figure out. As soon as we get that information, we'll be sure to keep you updated. Right now, Congressman Brandon Williams, a number of other veterans who are also members of Congress are right here replacing the American flag that was taken down and burned. You can see they're trying to put it on the flagpole right now. We have members of Congress right here. If you go over to the right here, you see members of Congress over there putting the American flag up. Right now, this is what's going on here. But I also want to show you kind of some of the vandalism that we saw earlier from protesters. If you come take a follow with me, we go down the stairs here, you'll see the protesters dispersed around 6 p.m. this evening. That's about a few hours ago, but there's still some very visible signs that they were here, their presence. You watch your step right here. You see some vandalism right here, some graffiti right here. If you come around here, they came over here to the statue in front of Union Station. I'm going to get up here because earlier this evening, protesters got up on this statue. You can still see the signs that are left behind. More graffiti right here. You have more graffiti right there. And there's a lot of graffiti on the other side of the statue, but we really can't show you just because some of that language is not suitable for television. But the National Park Service will be back out here tomorrow morning starting their cleanup. We're told that'll take multiple treatments over a number of days in order to get all of this off. But really just what you're seeing out here doesn't quite do justice. Just some of the chaos we saw earlier this evening. Yeah, we're the southernmost point of Haynes Point before the road got closed. You can see why. I mean, this water is coming up to my knees. We could just slosh around here. And about an hour ago, we were actually able to make it up to that boat ramp, but just the water got too deep. We can't make it up there anymore. And a little bit to the left, you can see the water has gotten even higher up on that fence. A reminder, this part towards us before the fence, that's normally a walking place for people just enjoying the sights of the wharf. In fact, you know, this looks like part of the channel, we saw some ducks just floating around here a few minutes ago. And right now we're just trying to do our best to stay kind of above water right here. But one thing we're gonna keep an eye out is to make sure this water doesn't get on the road. It hasn't yet. This is about as close as they're letting us get for our safety. They're also at work here. But what we do know, there were 5 people inside at the time of the building collapse. 4 have been since transported with non-life-threatening injuries. There was 1 additional person who was pinned underneath all of this. They're able to extricate that person, being taken to the hospital, being treated for trauma. But you can take a look at all of these fire trucks, all these crews that are still on scene right now. It's a crazy scene that we're seeing right here, because this is not the only one. We walked over here, and just walking by here, we passed by at least 2 or 3 other homes that had trees toppled down on top of them. And we're still working to figure out what the patient situation is for those particular homes. But again, you can see just this house collapsing underneath. It looks like the weight of these trees, like you mentioned, we've been talking about all day long, just how dangerous these tornadoes are. And we're still working to figure out what exactly we saw out here, as far as if it was a tornado that touched down in this neighborhood causing this house collapse. But it's pretty clear just walking around this neighborhood. I mean, you can see that there are just leaves all over the ground. And you know, if you go down this block, I'll show you where we were coming from. We were walking over from down over here, and you can see police officers have blocked off the street as well. There are down power lines everywhere we go. We also have to make sure that we're not walking into any sort of live wires or any situation like that. But you see all of the leaves from the trees that have been just blown away from this weather, and you see the police officers at the end of the block blocking it off. If we went down the block to the left of where the police cars were, you would definitely see more homes that were affected by this weather. Actually, let's go ahead and walk down, because it's just the other side of this block where we saw another tree collapse on top of a home. If you follow me right here. But it's an active situation out here. A lot of fires, a lot of first responders out here. And we're just around the block. Actually, you can see probably from up here where you see the tree just cut in half, cracked in half on top of this home. And we have, you know, first responders responding to this as well. From what I understand, the other homes with the trees on top, there were rescue crews that were taking people out. But of course, the most serious, we come back to where we were, the most serious we've seen by far tonight, in just the few minutes that we've been out here, the house that collapsed here on Dogwood Drive, 400 block of Dogwood Drive. See a lot of bystanders out here wondering what's going on. Let's go around the corner here so we get a better idea of, again, another look at the house collapse that caused the 5 people being rescued out of it. We'll get a little bit closer until they tell us not to. But you can see just the branches down, and then of course, just the damage. I mean, look at that roof over there where you see a tree must have fallen on it. Just,
I don't know if you can hear me. I was hearing sirens in the background of your live report there. Were those more personnel coming, or were they leaving with victims of this storm?
So pretty much let's get out of the way real quick so the fire trucks don't, so we're not in the way of the fire trucks. But just even coming in, I mean, we're hearing these alarms pretty much the entire time we've been here. Some coming to the scene, a lot leaving. We saw an ambulance leave the scene just as we were turning onto the road. We needed to park. Again, a lot of trees down the road. So this is about, we parked a little bit away, a walking distance away, but we had to walk over here. But as far as those sirens, it's hard to tell because we can't see any new first responders coming to scene. But it's a lot of kind of going both ways. Some coming to scene, some leaving the scene. We definitely saw an ambulance leaving the scene. You imagine with some patients, just considering all the destruction we're seeing out here. Actually, something caught my eye too. Not only the roof, but you see where the tree was uprooted right there. So the storm just absolutely blew through this neighborhood. This house, unfortunately, just in harm's way at the time of the tree falling, of this building collapsing. But again, we just got here on scene a few minutes ago. We're going to work with the first responders on scene to see what exactly happened, what's the latest. But again, in this collapsed building, there were 5 people inside, 4 of them with non-life-threatening injuries. Fortunately, 1 being treated for trauma. That person was actually pinned inside the house at the time of the collapse.
It's important to note here, while you've got a very active scene where you are, they're also just across the street over toward Muddy Branch, not far away at all. I mean, probably just a 3-minute drive from you. On the backside of Gaithersburg High School, we've got another collapse there. Another one that's on Winnie Place in Gaithersburg. on Peony Drive in Gaithersburg, also right around the corner, another. I would imagine that you're seeing a lot of personnel there, but they also have to be spread pretty thin right now. Does it look like there's, you know, enough rescue personnel and emergency crews there on scene to handle what you're looking at?
I mean, you're right. They're absolutely spread thin, but we see so many first responders here. It doesn't seem like staffing is an issue. You mentioned a 3-minute drive. Honestly, a 2-minute walk, and like you mentioned, I mean, earlier in this live shot, we just walked a little bit away, and I think that was actually one of the collapses you were mentioning. That was on Peony Drive, and I think there's another on Rolling Road, which is just a few blocks away from where we are. We've seen these trees down. We've seen first responders. I think one thing that's helping is that they are closing off roads to keep bystanders away so that there are no more victims at this point, and so they can focus on the task at hand. And again, I just want to give you an idea. I mean, it's just baffling to see when you see the words building collapse on Twitter or Facebook. You know, it's hard to picture, but when you're out here on the scene, it just kind of takes your breath away and just makes you worry for the people who are inside at the time, especially the one person who was pinned underneath. But to get back to your question, I mean, you see how many first responders are out here. It doesn't seem like that's an issue right now as far as being spread too thin. That's something that we'll obviously have to find out as the night goes on, if there's more damage, if there are any residual trees falling down from just how soft the soil got from all the rain and from wind damage, for instance. But that's something that we're not really seeing. We are seeing so many first responders out here that it doesn't seem like staffing has been a problem at this point.
These, Christian, do they all have the same logo? Are they all from the same county, or are they calling resources from other areas? Can you tell just by looking at the markings on any of those?
Where we are right now, it's all Montgomery County Fire. Down the road, it looks like it's Montgomery County Police as well. So it does seem like it's all from Montgomery County Fire and Montgomery County Police. The more we get to go around here, I guess we'll see if there are any other agencies, but you have to imagine for some damage that's so widespread where we see so many homes affected, and these are just the major homes. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be, as you know, we figure out more the extent of this storm damage, we'll see other minor damage to some of these homes. But from where we're standing right now, I see a Montgomery County fire truck, another Montgomery fire truck. The police cars that we showed you down the road were Montgomery County Police. So it looks like they're all within Montgomery County. Well, it's pretty clear to see that this is the worst hit community, and that's according to Montgomery County officials. And it's easy to see because, I mean, you'll see branches like this just everywhere on the ground. That's if you're lucky, because if you're unlucky, you'll have entire trees just toppled over your car, and just a few feet to the right, we'll see a house where you have a tree that was hit and fell on top of this house. Now, these people got lucky. I'll say that because no one was taken to the hospital. About an hour ago, we were showing you another home, literally just a block away, maybe a 2-minute walk away, that had a tree on top of it. It was considered a building collapse. There were 5 people inside. 4 of them were pretty easily rescued. 1 was pinned underneath a tree and a home. That wasn't the case here. But all night tonight, we've been warning people about what first responders are really warning viewers about, that if you don't have to be out, don't, because they're worried obviously of the people who were injured during the storm, but they're also really worried about people who could be injured after the storm from down power lines. And it's not just on the ground. Of course, you have to watch your step, but even suspended in the air, you have power lines, and we're going to be really careful here. You can see suspended in the air that were knocked down. They're obviously supposed to be much higher. Just in the last 20 minutes, we've seen at least 3 people almost walking face first into these power lines. So that's something that folks at home just need to be very cognizant of. If they need to go out, they need to be really careful. Watch where you're stepping, watch where you're walking into. You need a really powerful light because it's pitch black out here, as you could imagine, with power outages as a result of this weather, of the tornadoes that tore through here. But as far as any other damage, it's something we're going to keep monitoring, any more injuries. But as far as we know, this neighborhood, at least 3 homes had trees toppled on top of them. 2 of those homes, no one was taken to the hospital. 1 of them, 5 people were taken to the hospital. They're all expected to be okay with non-life-threatening injuries.